and welcome to In the Front Row. Today I am chatting with a few of my buddies, Tyrone from over at the Circle Club and Don from over at Multiverse of Geekdom. How are we going, friends?
Fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
good. How are you, Don?
I'm doing great. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. I'm so excited to chat to you guys because I feel like this was a show that I didn't watch the trailer for, didn't play the games, and then when I watched it, I was hooked. So what about you guys? How did you watch the trailer before starting this series or no?
Nope. I just pressed play.
I think I did see a trailer. But I wasn't something that I was like watching or anything. Yeah.
I just, I knew that it was a video game. Funny enough,
Sure.
like, I liked House of the Dragon a lot, and I saw that they had some similar directors there. And I saw that Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, was doing the first 3 episodes. So I was like, I think I can trust this and give it a shot. So I just pressed play, and boy, I thought it was good. I really did.
Yeah, that first episode really gets you, man. I mean, it definitely hooks you right in. So
yeah, for sure.
So creative. It's just a cool concept too.
Mm-hmm.
Just to clarify, neither of us had played the games, right? Neither of you two.
No, I made it out of the vault one time, got killed within like 2 minutes, and I was done. Never played again. I think that was Fallout 4. I think that was Fallout 4.
Yeah, no, I even like thought about watching one of those like playthroughs that people do, but I heard that it was just such its own thing that I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll just experience it my own way.
Yeah, fair. I've never played it either, but as you said, Don, jumping in from that first episode, it really does hook you. I was fascinated mostly by the set design, like how good the vaults and also the wasteland looked. Like it really felt like pretty much what we said when we watched The Last of Us, Twisted Metal. It felt like you were in the game, even though you're watching the show from it. So I'm not quite sure if we can call it an adaptation of the game, if that's what we're allowed to say with that or not. But that's what it felt like. It felt like very video game-esque, didn't it?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, right off the bat, for sure. The one thing I do like is the way they kept the technology in there with keeping that 50s feel. It sort of feels like a updated, or like a with better technology, like Buck Rogers or something, like an old 50s like serial. So it's really fun how they keep that going throughout. But yeah, that initial episode with the explosion and oh my goodness, I mean everything is. I did not expect it to start that way, but I didn't know what to expect either. So
yeah, it does feel very 50s, even with not just the visuals, but also with the music. The score and the song. One of the things that I loved about the music is how it tied in the lyrics with what was happening in the scene, like specifically with that ending there. The 3 spoilers. This is a spoiler chat, so obviously
sure.
But with the end there, sorry, buddy, we lost you there. You good?
Yep, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the music and how it matched what was happening in the scenes, specifically with the ending. You had the Ghoul, Lucy, and CX404, was it? The dog? And they were coming out, and this song was talking about, us 3 being my shadow, being my echo. And that led us into what was actually happening in the scene, sort of thing. So I really liked that the music did feel like very 50s, very traditional, and that tied in with how the visuals looked as well.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about at the start of the stream how it feels like you're in a video game, and like it really does give you a good perspective. Like, I think they do a great job of not sort of doing the whole like sort of Star Wars crawl kind of thing, or like, hey, here's the narrator of what's going on. Like, they just throw you in the situation. You're at this party, and like you see what's going on, and you get the intensity right away that something's off. They do a really good job in this series, to me, of just with the music, like you're saying, like you just feel like something's going to happen, something's off. Like it kind of gives that suspense. And then it has that sort of Western feel to it, but it's also sort of sci-fi, sort of cyberpunky. Like, I don't know, there's just a mix of really a lot of good genres. And like you said, I think the music does a good job of throwing you in there. And like, when you play a video game, you're sort of going through like all the little like cutscenes. It kind of feels like you're just in one really long cutscene.
I was going to say the story, and I don't mean this in a bad way, really feels gamey. Like it feels like a game storyline, but it's done very well and adapted to the, episode by episode, of a TV show that you need. So I
Right.
really like the way, because it starts off, in there, and then she's got to go on this adventure, and then she's on this adventure. It's a very gamey in the beginning. I think it gets so yeah. I think it helps lend to that for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Because like when you're playing like a game, it's like they set it up, and then you start to sort of explore. You start clicking things around. I think because naturally Lucy is in this new environment, it's kind of like us when we're playing a video game where you go around, you press A, X, whatever it is, joysticks you got, and just kind of sort of interacting with everything. And I think they just do a really good job of sort of inviting us into the world by doing that. So no, I absolutely agree. And I also think too, just the characters is like really good characters where it's like everyone feels very independent, and they also don't know why I feel independent, but also like similar to one another. And there's just like, I don't know, it's such a layered show.
Yeah. With the characters, they were all sort of woven into each other's storyline without knowing it. And that was really good because we got to see like the different factions. Sorry.
Yep.
With the Brotherhood of Steel, with the Vault Dwellers, with the people of Shady Sands, like there was different, not just characters to follow, but everybody had their own sort of agenda. And it was really, really good to get that as the build up to that final episode when we found out, the big twist and everything that happened in the finale there. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing it sort of broke it up, so not each episode was about Lucy and her exploration to find her dad. We got to see a little bit inside the vault and the sneaky, what's the word I'm looking for? Sneaky or hidden secrets, I guess you could say, from Vault 31. There was this suspense with that. So her brother had his own little mission going on there. And then, as I said, with Lucy, and then the Shady Sand stuff, I was constantly thinking, why did the Raiders want this man? What are they going to do? So you were kind of on this journey with each of them, even though eventually they were all woven in. So it was really good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, not to jump ahead too much either, too. Like one thing that they do really well, like when Lucy and Maximus sort of Maximus sort of like admits, hey, I've been lying about who I am and all these sort of things. Part of me was like, all right, are we about to get that cringy moment where it's like they go their separate ways and, like, oh my God, I can't believe this, even though it's like she's done so much herself. And I love the realism of this story where it's like characters don't just sit with whatever their moral compass is. They evolve. They're willing to change because they know the circumstances are crazy. We even see the Ghoul sort of at the end there kind of making this shift of like, all right, well, you coming with me? Even though it seemed like originally that wasn't sort of like his main purpose. So I like that people are in this world willing to kind of fluctuate their beliefs and like depending on the circumstance. And I think it makes sense, right? Because you're in a situation that calls for that. And so it creates really a lot of interesting stories. You never really know where people are going to like stand on certain like situations, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely sort of that always the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. But that dynamic is always changing, so you don't really know where people are going to land from scene to scene. Like you said with the Ghoul at the end, you're just kind of like, wait a minute, any other time he would have definitely just killed her, like for sure.
Right, no, exactly.
And now you're right. It definitely feels that way for sure. A lot of dynamic changing, and the way they keep the story flowing is really interesting too in this.
Yes, absolutely.
And flowing is exactly what they're going to need to do into the second season, because after watching it, well, specifically that finale episode, I had so many questions, and I feel like maybe we are at an advantage by not playing the game. We don't know all of these different paths they can take. But there's a lot of vaults. Like we have seen, if you could even class it as seeing them, we've seen 3 of them. So, and technically one of them was completely raided at the time that we saw it. So technically 2, but there's so many other,
there's apparently hundreds of them. So
yeah. And we did see the Vault 4, was it? The one that they were doing all the experiments that we got to see. But yeah, I think you did say that there was 100 vaults. So if they had the opportunity to do whatever experiments they wanted, and if we haven't touched spoilers yet, we're dipping in and out with spoilers.
Yeah.
We haven't
Light
got to the
spoilers.
finale.
Yeah.
We haven't got to
Yeah.
the finale, but I'll give you a warning before that.
Have
But-
you all? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying that when they introduced us to these vaults, in that big board meeting, they said that you're free to do basically whatever you want in these vaults. There's no ethics, no restrictions. You're free to control your own vault.
Sure.
So with that in mind, who knows what these other vaults are up to?
Yeah.
And I think that's really going to be interesting to see what they're
Well, and
doing.
I also wonder if they're all set up in these like 3x3 setup. So is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, not all the way down the line. And what are the dynamics, like you said, between each vault, and what are the differences, and what the heck is going on in each one? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, like we just touched on, it gives the writers so much room to play with. And where like a game, sometimes you're sort of limited by the story that you're telling. This allows them to really kind of go wild with it. They can go crazy. And then when you think about radiation, like, they could have people who fly if they really wanted, or like to have like an extra leg, or whatever the case may be, like that vault we saw that was a bit bizarre, right? So it's going to give them a lot of like room to kind of play around with the stories and different plots. So that's it's a great call out. I really like that. I was going to ask, have any of you seen the show Silo?
No.
Okay. I would highly recommend, if you like this show, because it's sort of a similar concept where these people are underground and they don't know why. And I was just curious. I didn't know if there was some sort of connection or anything like that, or if like which one came first. But anyways, let's not detract too much.
Well, jumping back into what you were saying just there about, that vault and how they experimented on people, we did see a little bit of them experimenting on creatures. And I thought that was really cool too, to have that grouper, shoot 'em, the grouper, that show. We watch that all the time, that bloody fishing show. Anyway, the big grouper. And it had, like their hands as teeth and things like that.
Well, no, he said that was his uncle. He said that was his great uncle that they were experimenting on. So yeah, I don't know, because when they catch her, the one guy says, "No, that was my great uncle," or the Cyclops dude. That's who says it to her.
Right.
She says, "Yeah, that was my great." So I think they made him that way somehow.
Yeah, but the one that ate her or tried to eat the head in the water there, they must be either. I don't know. I don't know if that was the radiation
that were in the
thing
tank with the woman.
Yeah. So are they like putting them out into? I don't know. I don't know how to work.
Yeah.
But my point with that was, like we got to see a little bit of their experiments from inside the vault, but they can also tap into the wasteland. Like we really didn't see a lot of what the radiation damage can do. We saw it with the ghouls, and we saw it maybe with the roaches and the groupers and stuff like that. But they really could experiment with people who, as you said, what damage did that radiation have on, I don't know, people who were close to the bombings, who were not, things like that, like, and I don't think we got
200
to see
years. So it's like, how did people evolve as well, right?
Yeah. Like, do they all just become the ghouls and that's the end of it? Or, are some people, I don't know. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the people in the wasteland.
Yeah, and I think we will see more of that, because there is Fallout Vegas, New Vegas. So I know that they're probably going to go there at some point, because right now we've only seen California, right? In the show.
And that was another reson I sort of was interested in watching the show, is because I'm from Boston, and I know that's one of the settings as well. It's kind of like a little bit like X-Men vibes I'm getting, where it's like they don't go all out with it, but like, it's like the whole sort of radiation thing and like how it affects society and humanity. And like, there are super beings, not necessarily that they're like superheroes, but like beings with sort of these extra human abilities, like the ghouls. So I'm curious to know if there's any like other creatures out there, or sort of like species.
Yeah, like we only really got to see the roaches and the water one. So And yes,
Yeah, because this can't be the only Voltone experiment. So there's got to be some crazy shit out there by now.
And I really like, and I love the scene too. With just the board, it's just like full on America, right? Where it's like how do we make the most money from this? Like it's just so it was so evil and so like sinister in such like a simple way.
Yeah. And when we get to that finale episode, we find out the reasoning behind it. But that's another reason why I'd really like to find out more about the people in the wasteland, because there was the group with what was her name? Moldaver? Is that how you pronounced it?
Moldaver, yeah.
Moldaver, yeah.
And she had that sort of group of raiders who came in, and they were so vicious when they attacked Vault 33. But then they left. And they left with her. So it's like, if they're such raiders and they just need food and shelter, and why couldn't they stay there? Or some of them were like captured there, but why didn't they want to? And why isn't everybody trying to get into the vaults? Do you know what I'm saying? I'd like to see a bit more motive.
Sure. I think that they probably are. I also think that morally they don't believe in the vaults. I think they think the vaults are sort of like, this systematic thing of like, oh, let's hide and live this like cowardly life, like Norm, who's Lucy's brother, says to Chet, I think, where he's like,
I can't remember his name, but I know you're talking about.
He's like you're a coward, and he's like, well, we're all cowards because we're all underground, right? Yeah. And so I think that's kind of sort of how they see it in the wasteland. It's like these people aren't really living, they're sort of just surviving, and whereas like in the wastelands, they actually have some freedom. There's rules, but there aren't rules. There's sort of a code, but there isn't. Whereas like in the vaults, it's just like the big brother or puppet, whoever is behind it, and you just got to follow whatever they say. So I think that's sort of the real motive of why one would go into a vault versus not.
Yeah. Well, and she's been fighting against it since before the bomb. So I mean, she knows that they're the ones that dropped the bomb. So she's probably like, yeah, screw that. Just like you said, like I'm totally against living in a vault. I don't care what, you know.
Yeah, I understand her because she wanted to go and get the energy source. What do they call it? Cold fusion. So she had some sort of motive. But I thought, like, if these people are just, the raiders are just sort of these
regular people just kind of seeing it.
Feral sort of. Yeah, I was like, I wonder why they actually.
Maybe it's simple. Maybe it's simple, just like food, right? I mean, it's easier to break into a vault with people who have no idea how to fight or defend themselves and ravage and steal from them versus, people who are actually trained to survive in the wasteland. But yeah, I mean, it could be that's a good point though. It could be interesting to see how they approach that going forward. I was a little, I mean, I don't know, maybe I missed something. What was her main motive with the cold fusion? Was it to light this like
unlimited power?
Yeah,
because I think from at least how I understood it was she feels like Vault Tech like took away freedom from humanity, where this would give humanity freedom back, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of how she feels. Speech, she said, choose to do with your power whatever you want to do, but maybe you could try, like do better, basically.
Right. Yeah, and that's what's kind of cool too about like some of these situations where it's like I'm gonna give you the option. I'm gonna give you, like, she gives Lucy, Moldaver gives Lucy's father the chance. He's like, do you want like us to kill everyone, or do you want to come with us? Like the choice is yours, right? Or I could tell them what's really going on here. And it was just like, I don't know, it's just like a lot of little twists that are simple but really work. And like I felt like a lot of the payoffs really, like once you get to the end, you're like, yes. For sure.
Yeah, no, I think the payoff in the end for sure. And I didn't really see the twist coming with them with the experiments and stuff and giving the power away. I knew there was going to be some sort of, you guys have power and nobody else does kind of thing, but them adding that extra layer of you can just test people and do whatever you want. I didn't see that coming. So that was definitely another layer of bad guys. Yeah. But it was cool. It was really fun. It was really fun. And the flashbacks are done really well, I feel like, in those later episodes with him, going back and his wife being a part of it. And it's finding out that eventually she's the one that actually is really the one doing it, not even
Yeah.
Right.
You
Right.
can almost feel bad for her if she's just kind of like the secretary to him or like his assistant, and then she's just kind of a part of it. But she seemed like the one that was like the mastermind.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we like this, like, we talked how being in the not ground zero, what is it called? The outer world,
The wasteland.
thank
the
you, the
wasteland.
wasteland. Yeah. So being in the wasteland kind of changes who you are, and like, your morals can change at any point, and you understand, like, yeah, people are just trying to survive. I think we don't look at it the same way for the flashbacks, but it's also sort of similar in a sense, right? They are just trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way forward? Like, we're not going to have enough. We're not going to, be able to keep everyone involved, and like, but I think because it's more close to home for us, where we're like, man, I would never accept someone nuking. We feel we picture them as the bad guys, but in reality, it's like, were they just trying to make them like the best decision? And I think that's what makes all of them sort of complex and sort of interesting characters.
Yeah,
because
Well, it
she
comes
was
down to when, in the final instance, that might be the case, but then you find out that Shady Sands was completely nuked purely out of spite. So
Right.
when
yeah, for
Rose,
sure.
Right,
Lucy's
right.
mum, ran away, like, he was just showing you the power, what he can do
Right.
with
This is
power.
what is
So
capable. Yeah,
again, it comes back to those morals of
But yeah, I
right
think it
and
goes
wrong.
back to what you were saying though too, Tyrone, is because even he's like in the cage and he's like, she's a killer too, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but the motives are different, dude. Like you just
Right.
nuked an entire city just because your wife ran away with your kids.
Yeah. 'cause
He's
she
actually
loves-
trying to save humanity. She's
Right.
done a lot of bad things along the way, sure, okay, but she's not. Her intent is different, and it's like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah. And it's
which
all,
even
I don't know.
Lucy sees at the end. Even she's like, "Yeah, no, dude. Like, screw you." Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's so, I think a well-written character or story is always kind of like, you can see both sides, but at the end of the day, we have our protagonist and we have our antagonist, right? Because it's a story. But no, yeah. I also thought even just the imagery of the actual bombing and like the visual of cinema, like that was really, really well done. And I was watching like, this is a TV series. Like, these special effects are incredible.
really
So,
great.
oh, when you
what
see
it,
that first one, that first cloud, and then they start
oh
coming up like in the city around, I'm like, oh my god! Like,
Yeah, it was
definitely
scary
got
to watch,
Terminator
wasn't
2
it?
vibes immediately.
yeah, no, that was really well done. And like, it's like, it makes you kind of go like, whoa, like you like shake a little, because you just think about our reality as well, and you're like, dude, that's Endgame, like
Yeah. Oh,
it's
for
really
sure.
that quick of a button you press and then we're done. And it's scary, man. Like, there's nothing haunting like sort of looking at yourself in the mirror sometimes, and it did a really good job of doing that, to say, look at humanity, this could be us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder how far, like how widespread that actually is. Are we talking just America? Did bombs go off in other places? And are we going to see vaults? Like, could this
Yeah.
franchise really blow out to be a universe? It's of its own kind. I'm
Correct
really
me if I'm
curious
wrong.
to see
I
that.
thought that there it was an international meeting with the board. No.
I'm not too sure. I know
It
the
did look like
Vegas
it
guy
for
was.
sure. Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
I don't know though. I'm not.
Yeah, I'll have to pay more attention.
It did.
Yeah,
look
yeah.
like- Yes.
Well, because I mean, I know.
Well,
I mean, there definitely was like a diverse sort of panel or
Mhm.
whatever. But
Yeah.
no, like I was thinking the same thing in the moment, JB Lee, where I was like, man, like what are they doing in the vaults in China or like Australia, right? Like are they sort of ethics sort of different? Like do they go about it more from a community standpoint? Is it more greedy? Like how do you? Is it just the rich? Is it poor? Like yeah, there's a
It
lot.
would be
Like
interesting and a huge power move on their end, though, if they just literally bomb the rest of the world and America, but only built them in America. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be kind of a boss, but
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I almost
Yeah.
feel that greedy people are greedy, but they also sort of like, it's like, hey, I don't want to do all the work. So
Yeah,
that
for
they would
sure.
maybe like, all right, we'll let China handle like, our rice production. We'll let America handle this part. Like they kind of work together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you all think that we'll get to sort of see anything like that, like
I
in
hope so.
different countries?
Well, like what you were saying with the game, you're sort of limited on the story you can tell because you can't make a game 8 million terabytes, So
Right.
in a show, you can, like you said, kind of go crazy. So they could tell stories that aren't in the games yet, if they really want to, for sure. Yeah.
I think they still have quite a lot of story to tell with this, like purely just the American fallout.
Right.
Because there's, as I said, there's a lot of questions that I wanted to ask, like Will Zig, is it the head man? I think that was his name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and he was
yeah.
from the enclave at the start there, where they were doing the research with the dogs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think they sort of introduced that, but Ziggy, was it?
Siggy, Siggi. Yeah, Siggy.
Yeah, right. And we got introduced to him at the start there, and we never really learnt about where he was from or what they were doing and things like that. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there. And then inside the vaults, like there's so much that they could show us what they do, how they even get their food and how they survive inside these vaults other than purely breeding, which is what.
So would you want to see like a linear story like that told? And what I mean by that is like, this is Lucy's story in California, and this is what happens here, and then like a new Vegas show comes out and tells that story, and then you said there's one in Boston, something like that, or would you want like an anthology where like every couple seasons we tell a different? I'm just curious because I think either one would work.
No, I think definitely both could work. I kind of think it's cool if they would almost do a thing where it's like we get bits of Lucy's story and then maybe we meet a character from the Boston or somewhere else. And then, once Lucy's story is kind of sunset or done, whatever that even means in the Fallout world, like, I don't know, does that mean like, we start to get green trees again? Who knows what that means, right? But then we sort of go to the 4th season, 5th season, almost like a Doctor Who kind of thing where someone else takes over. I think that could work. However, I think it sort of could run its course where you may want to just have it be a completely different approach. Like, maybe this is in Sydney or this is in Japan where it can have a bigger contrast. I think that works a little bit more for me. What about you, Jamie Lee?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I'd really like to follow Lucy because she is one of the 3 main characters in it so far. And it looks like they're heading that way. Like Hank, her dad, was heading towards Vegas, and we saw on the panel one of the guys was cracking jokes about casino. So, he obviously is at one of these vaults at Vegas where they're heading to. So I feel like they're going to meet each of these sort of characters, but I don't think it's as widespread as countries. And I really would like to see the same storyline, but as I said, like just different parts. Not different parts, because we did see different parts, and they did that very well. Where I said before, we followed Lucy's story where she was exploring the wasteland. We also followed her brother's story where he was exploring the secrets. Then we had Maximus, who was, in the Brotherhood, and we learned a little bit about that. But I want to learn more about them things.
Oh,
they just sort of touched on them a little bit. Like, what would the Brotherhood of Steel do with infinite power? Why did they want that?
Yeah, I'm glad that you actually mentioned that. It was on the tip of my tongue the entire time. Like, we haven't really talked much about them. They're a very interesting sort of faction as well that I think we need to explore a little bit more. But I love what they've done with Maximus here. It's kind of like Finn in Star Wars, sort of. It's like, he's part of the evil empire. He's working as a stormtrooper, and he's like, why am I doing this kind of thing? And has that flip. So that's always a really cool take to me. And like I said earlier, I like that him and Lucy are sort of friends and they're sort of building this romance, right? And then, she has this moment where it's like he finally admits to her and she's like, dude, this place is kind of screwed up. Like, it makes sense that you would lie to try to survive and didn't trust me. She's like, until a day ago, I would have done the same thing, right? So it shows the realism between the relationships and going forward. And I also like that they left him without her, because now he's sort of still on his purpose or still on his mission. But to the Brotherhood, he's considered like a god now, right? Like, that's kind of a cool perspective, because now it makes me sort of think like almost like a Jon Snow thing of like, hey, let's get the Brotherhood on our side here to take down, these vault leaders. So there's a lot that they can do, and I think they should stick with Lucy personally, and then eventually go with different anthologies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that idea, but maybe with what is his? I can't. I'm blanking completely. The main Ghoul, the one that she's with now. What is his name again?
Cooper Howard.
Cooper, right? Cooper.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the way because he's immortal, or not immortal, but he's so maybe he's the way to kind of tie seasons to or tie different things together. Maybe we stay with him and Lucy for now, but eventually Lucy leaves and somebody else comes in, kind of thing.
He's a really important character too, because he's that window to the past. Like without him, we wouldn't have seen those flashbacks about not only the bomb dropping, but just little things like the conversations that he had with his wife and them not wanting, like dogs in the vaults because the dogs might eat the people, and then having a dog in the show, like little tie-ins like that. He was the window for that. So he's a very important character.
I would agree.
I can't wait to see them on their next journey. Yeah. But acting wise, I think he stole the show for me.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He was in was just
he's
so
great.
Good.
No, he's great.
He's a great actor. I mean, you got to see him in The Hateful Eight if you haven't seen that.
Yes.
Man, he's so
one of my favorite. I love that movie. Yeah. I tell you who I really like the guy that plays Maximus. I don't know who he is, but I got a lot of Cuban Gooding Jr. vibes from him. Like he just has that sort of style to him that Cuba had when he was younger, and not that he doesn't have it, but you know what I mean.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah. He's he hasn't been in much. I was looking at his resume, and I mean, he's been in a couple things. One show I saw him in was Mozart in the Jungle. It was another Prime show, but that is a very different show. It's like about like composers and things, and then he's kind of more of like a stage theater actor. But yeah, he's a fresh face, man, and like. We talk about this all the time where it's like these studios have the money and there's no excuse for them not to go out there and find new talent. And I love that you had that call out, Don. I think this kid definitely has the chops to kind of like, put a stamp in Hollywood somehow. Like,
that's a good call to John Boyega too, because I can see that for sure too.
Yep.
He's an actor for sure.
Yeah, and the other dude who was in the vault, Woody Cherry, he's like the bigger fellow with the glasses.
He was in Succession. Do you remember? There was a scene where Romy and he was sitting next to him, and they had to when he went to the what am I trying to say? Not detention, but something like that. Remember?
Oh yeah, like a safe room kind of thing.
Partner.
Yes.
Oh wow,
I do remember. Yeah, that's a wow. You really pulled that one. I was gonna say he's in the show Severance, which is also a really good show. Apple, I'm telling you guys, Apple has some really good shows that are sort of adjacent to the Severance and Silo. So if you really like Fallout, I would highly, highly recommend you check out Silo. And it's got from Dune, Rebecca Ferguson. She's like the main character there. So
okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that scene. I love that one part with him when they're changing the vaults towards the end. It was I think it's episode 7.
Yeah,
and he's like, nope, I'm not going. I don't live there.
Yep. Yeah,
that was a great moment. He was really funny.
He was very funny. Another thing that this show did, what I thought pretty well, was it wasn't funny like comedy, but it was very subtle, funny lines in it, and I thought that was really great to break up from. They called it a drama, but it was also very, as you called it at the start, Tyrone, very sci-fi, a lot of action and stuff like that. So I thought adding those little bits of comedy in like that was, it broke it up a bit.
Totally. And it does it in a way that feels so natural, like Don was saying, where it's like you almost feel like you're playing a game or you're walking around, you go talking to an NPC and they say something ridiculous, right? Yeah. Like it never takes you out of it. And I think because the world is so wacky and crazy and Lucy's experiencing it for herself and she's naive, that like it's sort of funny for us because we're like, oh my God, Lucy, don't fall for this, right? Right. So it's got a good charm to it. So
because you hate that in video games when you run in, and especially ones where you don't have choices, you just kind of have to go with whatever's happening, and you're like, I would never do this. Like this is so stupid. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Right.
Right now.
No, that's great. This is a great series.
It's well done. Yeah.
It is. I really enjoyed it. You guys really enjoyed it. What do you think is going to happen in season 2? What do you think we're going to see, or what are you hoping to see from season 2?
I mean, hoping, I don't know. Just again, don't know enough about the series, but I mean, everybody talks about New Vegas, so I would love to see this world in Vegas for sure. But I do agree with you too, as far as I would like to see more of the West Coast before we get there. I would like to see more of California first before we get there. So
yeah, I agree. I think we may get to Vegas halfway through, maybe episode 3 or 4, but I think there's still more that we could see here. I think we definitely need to get a little bit of a better sense of the Brotherhood. I think that, kind of what their motives are. Her brother is still in the vault. Does he exit at some point? He's also now he sort of he knows how the secret sausage is made, right? So, I think we still have to deal with that. And I think ultimately too, Lucy was looking for her father. That was the whole thing, right? Now she's got a different motive, but I do think at some point maybe she goes back for her brother. So I think that's something that we may see in this second season.
I really like the way they did that too, where they lined up their storylines, finding out at the same time.
Yeah,
really like the way they did that.
Yeah. I mean, and they do that where it's like that's why I'm saying it does such a good job. It feels like you're playing the video game because we are Lucy. We're going through this like, oh, okay, and it feels very natural. But then at the same time, like our brother's going through it, and we want to know. I'm curious, like. I don't know if either of you, I know you guys said you haven't played. Is there only one character when you play the game, or do you go through?
I always thought the character was the dude on the pictures, and apparently that's not true. So, I don't know. Honestly, to be honest, I don't know.
You know what I remember from the games too? I'm pretty sure, well, from what I've seen of them, because I never played them, but that Ron Perlman from Sons of Anarchy, like he did like voice work or whatever in it, like talking about the war. I remember that. And I thought, I didn't see, I mean, I could be wrong, but I didn't see him in this at all, like not for a cameo or anything. So I wonder if he has, I don't know, any part of the game or more to come from him. Yeah.
I got a question for you both. Is there a particular actor that you think, oh, wow, they could fit pretty well in this universe?
Oh, I mean, only it would be typecasting at this point, only because he's done it so much. But Timothy Oliphant would fit right in here too.
Okay.
He's just done that character so many times. If he tried to, plus we already have that character really too, so it wouldn't really make sense. Yeah, it would be hard.
Someone said Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson,
The Rock.
For sure. Yeah, put him. Of course, he would fit in here.
He would fit anywhere. That
man. Just make him like the Toxic Avenger type, something like that. He could be like something weird.
I think two people that come to mind for me, going back to just the Hateful Eight, is Kurt Russell, sort of being like the big boss at the end. Sure. That would be awesome. And then Samuel L. Jackson coming in to give us a couple MFs, like something like that. I mean, those are huge names, but I think in particular, Kurt Russell being that sort of final boss, it just would fit really well for me.
I got one I think is really funny. I think this would be super funny. So, Tom Holland as sort of just like a straight up lost vault person, like completely aloof to the real world.
I love that.
And just lost in the wasteland somehow. Like he got lost in the wasteland and just completely aloof to just anything real. Yeah. That would be a funny character. So he could play that.
Did you guys ever watch Riverdale?
No.
I don't think so. No.
Do you know who Gina Gershon is? I don't know.
I know the name, yeah.
Riverdale.
She's like a real sort of like rough looking, or well, in the role she plays, sorry, I should be very respectful there. In the role she plays, she's a very sort of like rough, like boss looking lady. And I think she would fit really well in the wasteland side of things. Is this like
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I see it. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I see it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I can see that. Like that. Yeah.
But I really, I'm not, I don't want to pick who I want in the cast because I really do like this cast. I think that they're all, like everybody, even down to like minor roles such as Betty. You know, she was also in Deadpool, which we were talking about before the show. She's the lady who gets out. Anyway.
Betty was perfect. And she was just subtly creepy enough where you're like this nice old lady, but at the same time you're like, Yeah, I don't
What's
want to get
wrong
on
with
Betty's
her?
bad side.
Yeah, what's she done? What's she up to, this sneaky thing? And
Yeah.
we talked about Barb, and having such a large role at the end there. So, and she was also in The Boys too, just to throw that out there, because I like my cameos in there.
Your
But
fam, yeah.
yeah. So
Good.
I like the cast as it is. I want to see more of them. Like I really want to see, for example, with Ziggy with the head. How did Moldaver, oh, I
Yeah.
can't pronounce it. Anyway, how did she get in contact with him to make this cold fusion? Are there
Yeah.
people that can make other explosive things that are gonna, cause all this friction between these different factions? So I want to
I
see a
wonder
little
if
bit
he's
more
one
of
of the
that.
original ones that was frozen and defected. Do you know that, like, got
Oh
away?
yeah,
I don't know. I wonder. Yeah,
That's kind of what I was leaning towards too, Don. Like, I think that makes the most sense. But I think this kind of is where, like, Boston and Vegas kind of comes into play as well. Is like, there's no internet anymore. There's no telephones. There's no mail carriers, right? So I think we may get to Vegas, and Vegas is Viva Las Vegas, and they got
right.
it's booming. It's they got
Mad Max
electricity and
Central. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
right. So so yeah, never trust
Yeah.
old people after the apocalypse. Yeah, right.
yeah.
It's
So
interesting.
what were we
I
saying?
kind
Sorry,
of
I
want
just threw
Vegas to
myself off
feel
track.
like Twisted Metal Vegas.
Yeah,
That's kind of what I want.
yeah.
Just some weird dude running things. Just
No,
doing
yeah,
weird, just
that,
doing
but
weird stuff.
that's what I love about Fallout here is that, like, it can get very weird, but at the same time very grounded. Like
Yeah.
like it can be so weird, and I think there's a craving amongst moviegoers, television watchers for something different, something that we haven't seen, something that's playful but experiments, right? So yeah, no, I think Vegas is going to be a big part of this next season for sure.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I can't wait. And as you said, I'm loving these. I'm loving how different these video game adaptations are. We had it with Twisted Metal, we had it with The Last of Us, and now Fallout. They're just getting ticks all round by, critics as well as video game fans. So,
And
yeah,
all
I think
three very different versions of their own games, so
completely different games. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think that they're doing well, and it's very refreshing to, watch new shows that are based on these video games that people enjoy. So, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's great to see video game stuff being able to be put on screen and be good because we had
Right.
so many years of bad stuff.
Yeah, I think they realized too that as video games evolved, it's definitely about the action and the adventure. But those cutscenes have made such a over the last like decade, so they've been so pivotal to the game experience and people watching, other people playing online that it only makes sense that would translate over to stories. And I think the big thing is like, just these successful shows are taking their time. Like Fallout could have easily jumped to Vegas in the first season, but they take their time with it and they're like, hey, you know what? People like this. They like it. If they don't, you know what? There's no season 2. It is what it is. But taking your time with this is it really it's paying off. I think with these game shows as well. Last of Us.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of what you're saying, exactly. I think that's exactly what it was. Is whenever you talk to gamers about why they love their game so much that they love, it's always this. It comes down to story, and I think before they just didn't take the story as seriously,
right?
As because like you said, we live for the cutscenes. Where I think they just played the games and never looked at the story, the way we did. So
yeah,
now they're taking it more serious. So yeah, it's helping.
Yep, totally agree. It's looking good for season 2. Season 1 was really great in my opinion. Like I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason why I'm really faulting it is because I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, but I know that it's very hard to do that in an 8-episode series. You do need that sort of 10 to 12. But yeah, I'm excited to see some more. And it gives me positive vibes for what's coming from Borderlands. Did you guys ever play the Borderlands games?
I'm going to be the same way with Borderlands. Yeah.
Same. Yep.
That was epic. I really enjoyed those games, and I'm hoping that it rides like this does, where both fans of the game and newcomers both can appreciate it as well.
Yeah, going just back to the ratings, I gave it the same rating. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I think, I just wanted to get a little bit more of, the actual wasteland and some of the motives. I know that it's I'm looking at this almost like part 1. I know part 2 will be the second season to bring it all together, but I think a little bit more, but also credit to these folks, like these are some long episodes, but they keep you real
Yeah.
hooked. They're long
Right.
episodes, but they do
Yeah.
keep you hooked. So credit to
Yeah.
them for that. And everyone's always scared to say 5 out of 5 or whatever, but I really do think it was as good as it could get.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go right there with you guys. I think I'm gonna go 9.5 though. I think
Mhm.
I agree with Jamie on the sense that I do wish we got a little bit more just of story. But I
Mhm.
think the way they kept the show flowing and moving, I never really missed it in the sense that it made me feel like I was missing something. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, right.
I still feel like the show ended well
Well,
and everything paid off well.
It
So
really did.
well,
You
part
yeah,
of a
just know my
journey.
brain, and I think, but why?
Yeah.
But when? But where did
yeah,
that come from?
again, it's not perfect, but I think it's as close as you're gonna get to this type of
But the
Absolutely.
thing is too that I think the reason why it works so well is because when you're on a journey, you don't always get the answers to everything
Yeah.
the first time,
Straight
right? Like
away.
Oh
you
yeah.
go through it, and even when you play a game, sometimes you the second time you're like, oh, I missed that, right? So
Yep.
I think that that the second season will definitely get a little bit more, but it's kind of nice at the same time that we don't know everything because it gives them so much room to play with, and also for Lucy to experience for the first time as well.
Sure. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
totally agree. All right, that's it for us, you guys. That's our thoughts on Fallout until we get a second season. That's all we've got to say about that. I think it would be cool to touch base with somebody who has played the games to do some sort of like comparison chat in the future. Let me know in the comment section if you have played the games. And thank you to everybody who has watched and commented along the way. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you head to these guys' channels in the description box, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.
Later.
See ya.